Well, I'm very grateful I can share with you on the subject of dissolving disappointments. I mean, that's cool. If I had known years ago that I could have listened to a talk about how to do that, I would have been over the moon because I had no idea what to do when I got disappointed. I just went straight into the disappointment and it was like a bit of a void and I would be sucked into the disappointment. And so it was only when I started this journey some 35 years ago and learned to be still that I became aware and conscious of the disappointments in my life. And I eventually began to become aware of what I could do with those disappointments, where they came from, what causes them, and where my focus could change. And what I love those words, what could I do when I was disappointed? What was the best way to handle it? But I don't end up feeling depressed and down and then stuck, what I call stuck in mud. And then when you're stuck in mud, you get even more clogged up, and it just multiplies, and you get more mud on you because of your reactions. So one of the times, quite a few years ago, and it's very much in this pamphlet, Expectations, which is very much related to the subject of disappointments, is I remember people had made a commitment to me. They said, you know, we are supposed to be our word. Do we always do what we say? Do we always do what we promise? I certainly didn't. I meant well, but I didn't. I stuffed up. But these people, in my perspective, had stuffed up with me because they had made promises to assist me and help me out. And I was really let down. I almost went into disillusionment and distrust until I used one of the tools that I'm going to give you today. And that is, I actually knew to deal with my feelings. This was many years on the way through. And I didn't get stuck in that mud of disappointment. I actually was able to go in and look at what I was feeling and actually able to go to my divine counselor who's within me and tell him how I felt and what I thought and gain his perspective. And when I actually unclogged myself by expressing my feelings, and I'll say this over and over again because that's the thing that was the worst blockage for me, was expressing my negative feelings and letting them come up, and then listen to my beliefs. I then got a total insight of clarity on these people. So rather than my relationship with them being destroyed or me judging them or condemning them, which only compounds the negative effect, I actually got an insight that they were very overwhelmed in their life. I was just shown quite clearly an image. And at that moment, all my disappointment just disappeared. And I actually felt compassion for them because they committed themselves to something that they were unable to follow through with. And then I was shown a day or two later that what I did, because generally speaking, as you judge others, you know, you'll be judged yourself. It usually comes back. You see it yourself. And my kids shared with me how disappointed they were in me and how they felt that I didn't care when I was late for picking them up after school. Now, I was so busy caring about other people and trying to get it right, which was I thought if I got it right, I'd make everything all right in my life and I'd never be disappointed. Not true, as I had to discover that painfully. My children were disappointed in me because I was so busy trying so hard in life to get everything right. I was getting a lot of it wrong. And one of the main things is getting wrong with being present to them, being on time for them, which indicated to them that I cared about them, that I put them first before what I thought was important. And being late was one of those things in my life that constantly sabotaged me and sabotaged my relationships until I took responsibility and began to look at the time and become aware of what it was doing to me and to others. And so my children wouldn't be disappointed in me. And I apologized. I asked for forgiveness. And then I made time. I actually had to write down the time to change this habit. What time I had to be at the place, how long it took me to get there, how long it took me to get out of the house. And it works. My husband and I still do it to make sure that we are not only on time, hopefully at least on time, if not a little bit early, just so we don't disappoint others. We don't make them feel that they are less than because we're not giving them their time. Does it mean we get it right all the time? No, but we're aware of it and we're working on it. So what do? Do you find that you disappoint others, or have you disappointed yourself? Have you let others down like I have? Have you forgiven yourself? Have you realized that you're human and you need to ask wisdom within you what you can do about that? Because the moment I found with my children, I listened to them and I apologized, there was just a sense of great closeness afterwards. They weren't there to judge me or condemn me. They were there, and guess what? A lot of the time they get there late themselves, learn behavior from guess who? So they're going on their journey to learn as well. So we just tend to observe other people and tend to follow them. Disappointments coming from expectations. When I was a child, I felt really bad and really wrong. It was a very damaged memory that has now been healed and completely released. I don't have anything to be triggered off there now. But prior to that, I had expectations that, and I think that the story that I've mentioned before is that if I've got everything right and I had everything as everyone else wanted it to be, as much as I knew how, they would love me. They would care for me. They would be happy. I would make them happy by what I did. They were my expectations. In the case with my husband, for instance, this is not about him, by the way, it's about me. He loves things tidy and neat, which is now a total gift for me. But I remember with 3 young kids running around like a chip with my head cut up, again, trying to get it all right for him, to have everything spotless for him when he came home. And he'd walk in the door and he'd say hello, and he's a gentleman. And because he's just like he is, because of his background, he'd pick up the broom and start sweeping the floor. And I immediately was disappointed because of my actions didn't get the right response. I was looking in the wrong direction at somebody for my happiness, I expected that they would respond in a certain way and I would be disappointed. What are you doing in your life right now for somebody else? I don't know, maybe you're doing it for yourself. Maybe you spend a lot of time looking really good. That's important for a lot of people. Do people notice you, or do you get disappointed because they don't notice how good you look because you've gone to a lot of trouble? Who is it that disappoints you in your life because you're trying so hard, but they're not acknowledging, not acknowledging it? But again, I encourage you, the whole focus today will be to refocus you on the one who will never disappoint you. Because when you live in this world, you will have problems. You will get disappointed because people are imperfect, unfortunately. What about all the other expectations where people can get it wrong? I mean, football, for instance. I remember coming out to my husband and saying to him, "So you're enjoying yourself?" "Oh, it's all right." I mean, I don't know with the other people that watch football, and this is, again, it's not about him, but it's what you expect to get from watching football. You're hoping for them to win, aren't you? And football's like a religion to a lot of people because they go there to get their fun, their fellowship, their I don't know, to make themselves happy. But I think it takes them on a roller coaster ride because they have expectations and beliefs in their football team that's going to win. I said to my husband, "What happens? How do you feel when your football team doesn't win?" He said, "Oh, just devastated." I said, "How do you feel when they win?" "Relieved." So there's no joy. I said, "Where's the joy? Where's the fun?" And again, it's not about him. It's observing how an activity, when we focus on that for our, to make us feel good, happy, can lead us down. Football's one. Life's hard, and people, and do you ever find people and sometimes friends can be hard work? Do you ever find they let you down? They disappoint you? They don't know how to listen to you? How are you with them? Do you listen to them? Do you maybe need to apologize to them like I had to? What about broken promises? Like I had those promises of people that were going to help me that let me down. Do you have promises? People promised you things and they let you down. Were you left feeling disappointed? What about, I look at a lot of the young kids these days. I mean, it's the same in every generation. They want to look good. They want to, be the best they can, some of them, because they want to get the attention of someone else to love them. And when that doesn't work, it's very much like what I talked about before. They can get disappointed. What is it am I not good enough? So it can lead to these beliefs of being not good enough. And talking about that, the needs underlying it, in my case, to get, everything right, going back to that, was I wanted to be acknowledged. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to feel like I belonged. I was valued in what I did. And that didn't work when I was constantly seeking my acknowledgement and my worth and value from someone else, because they are broken as well. So I was left disappointed yet again. My underlying need was, though, to have a close, intimate relationship with people. And ain't that the truth? You've only got to listen to the love songs on television, about all the love songs and how much people love one another. And then you hear about all the love songs that have broken relationships and hurts. So I've discovered the answer for that. You probably already know it. But I've discovered, I've been married for over 50 years and I've got a beautiful relationship with my husband. It's not been always good. It's been like a roller coaster ride. We've had many lives together, but we've learned to grow and learn through it all. I've learned now that even now, after all these years, and so has my husband, to stand back from each other, to not expect them to give us what I want. So when I do that, I set them free. I set my husband free. This took years for me to understand when that deep underlying memory was healed of my need of being loved and wanted. And I experienced the very presence of God where you feel safe. It's like being in a light. And so many people say, I say, how do you feel now? And they say, safe, secure, loved, belonging. And I'll say to them, so what about the disappointment expectation you had? Oh, that doesn't matter anymore. What about all those negative feelings you had? They've all gone. So again, I focus on the one who's within me. I step back and I just say, right now, will you love me? Right now, I'm going to sit still for long enough. Will you give me what I need? Do you know I even do it with coffee? This is ridiculous. It's all about right and wrong. I used to sit there and have a cup of coffee and I'd notice that it'd always be too hot, too warm, not enough in it. There'd always be something wrong. And that would always be the filter. Like a filter, I had these glasses on and I had wrong. So I would see everybody and everything and even a cup of coffee through these filters. And now I remember going to God and saying, this is really being lighthearted, and saying to him, listen, whatever coffee gives me, can you give that to me? Whatever that satisfaction or that treat or that, it was a treat for me because when I had a very sick child, I'd go and have a coffee and I feel like it was been my time and been my treat. But I said, I'm going to ask you to give me you to give me what it gives me first, then I can have the cup of coffee. Guess what? After I did that, I couldn't care less whatever way the coffee comes out anymore. There's no angst anymore. So it's ridiculous, but that cup of coffee relates to work, relationships, same sort of thing. You'll find yourself being disappointed if you have expectations and that you're wanting that thing or that someone to give you something that really you already have within you. It's deep within your heart, the presence who's got everything for you, but you need to take time to be still, like any relationship, and allow it to happen. So the beliefs for me, I think I've discussed this. When you go back, when you, for instance, get disappointed, the key is this: sit still for a moment and just allow yourself to be with the wonderful counselor, the Spirit of life and truth, the Holy Spirit, and say to him, right, tell me what I'm feeling. I'm feeling disappointed. Okay, it could be frustrated, angry, let down. And if you don't deal with your feelings and allow them to come up in the presence, it's like a beautiful confession. Then what happens is you'll go on to hating that person, making decisions to, I'm not going to get with them anymore. They hurt me too much. I'm not going to go to footy anymore. I'm going to give up coffee. Coffee's useless anyway. Whatever. You can make these decisions that close your life off to protect yourself from being disappointed. Have you ever made a decision to not do something, see somebody? I mean, there is a time to see people and not see people, but I'm talking about something you need to, that you've had expectations of people. Who is it that you've had those expectations and they've disappointed you, and you've then closed the door or you've judged them? Just stop for a minute and be present. Have you ever done that? Yeah, and there's no judgment here. This is awareness. Because if you're not aware of what you're doing and what's happening to you, you don't know how to deal with it. So your life can flow. So the expectation that we're meant to have is this. A little bit like in 1 John 2. And that is like beautiful Abraham had. An island, Abraham, don't you? Yeah. Abraham was the one who was promised to have children, and as many as the stars. Can you imagine when he got to the age of 100 and his wife had got past the childbearing years? Okay? I mean, what sort of faith could he have? He could have been really disappointed in God. He trusted God, he's done this, he'd done that, and still no children. But he trusted despite the fact he had to wait. And guess what? His wife Sarah had children. He just believed, and she laughed and was full of joy. So I'm saying to you, just wait in the presence, gain whatever it is that you're having expectations from others. Go back, and I'm sure that Abraham would have been filled because he trusted his creator. He would have been filled with the presence of God, which brings you that sense of satisfaction and contentment that things and other people can make you. And then when you're with him, ask for whatever it is you would like, but don't hang your hat on it. Don't hang your hat on that person changing or this job changing or I don't know, whatever it is in your life right now. Don't do that, because then you are tied, and depending on that job, that situation, that person, the way you want life to be, it's going to drag you down, because it can disappoint you. But the one who will never disappoint you, if you sit still, unload your feelings, you can even do it after footy and say how disappointed you are the team. Seriously, that can block you. Sit down whenever you get offside, when you feel those negative feelings. And then you can have you can have hope. Can you put your hands out for a moment? In your right hand, I want you to put expectations. Put your hands out. And I want you to imagine putting the word expectation in your right hand. And then I want you to close your eyes and put hope in your left hand. Hope is in your left hand. Expectations, the wrong sort of expectations, are in your right hand. Now I'm going to ask the Spirit of life and truth, and I want you to let go to show you what it feels like in your right hand when you have expectations of others, yourself, or even God in the wrong way. Are they heavy or light? What's that hand like? Is it heavy or light? You'll get a sense. Acknowledge it. I'm going to ask the Holy Spirit to show you in your left hand. When you hope, asking you hope and the Holy Spirit to fulfill you and bring contentment to you. Is that heavy or light? What's that like? And then to release into His hands your hopes for others and your life and situations. What does that feel like, that word hope? Is it lighter? It is for me. So you're meant to hope, have hope, and have an expectant faith with that hope, but in the one who created you. So you won't be disappointed. And you need to forgive yourself over and over again, and let the forgiveness of Jesus flow through you to others, because they will disappoint you. But if you come back to the source, unload your feelings, I'll repeat it again, and just wait and allow Him to fill you in that space, like I did with the coffee, whatever it was, that sense of contentment. You'll find that you'll fall up inside, not empty and alone. And you won't be disappointed by others, because you realize that you've been broken and you've disappointed yourself. And you realize with that other people will let you down, and they're human and they make mistakes. Can I say thank you for listening? And I ask you right now just to take the one thing from this sharing that relates to your life. Just stop for a minute and listen. What's the one thing that you have to give up or take on? Just listen. Just listen. Is it to be hopeful? Is it to be aware of what you do and who you disappoint? Is to give up expectations and just have the faith, an expectant faith in the one who created you. Stay with that. Hold on to that. And apply that to your life in the week to come and the weeks to come, and see the fruit of it. You can change your life when you line up with the keys of life, and when you line up with the one who gives you life, and who will console you and can comfort you and fill you up and open the doors to the way of life. Thank you for listening.